Hi, Jacob here. Apple held their October event and there were a number of announcements, pretty much all fluff leading up to the release of the new 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros with the new M1 chips, the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. And these Apple laptops are likely the most anticipated computers to be released of all time. These are the real MacBook Pros that everyone's been waiting for. We're talking about real pro computers for graphical and animation artists, video editors, coders, all kinds of power users. And this is a follow-up to the M1 chip, which has shaken the industry and completely revolutionized computing. Plus, there's a complete redesign offering pretty much everything on everyone's wish list. First, I'd like to give you my opinion about the new 14-inch MacBook Pro and talk about who this is really for. Secondly, I'm going to talk about some of the new features and design changes. And then lastly, I'm going to give you my opinion about different options when purchasing and different configurations. So why am I more excited about the 14-inch? Since the release of the first version, M1, almost a year ago, computing has changed. Previously with Intel-based computers, power users defaulted to the 16-inch MacBook Pros for access to more powerful hardware. Intel chips ran so hot, Apple only offered high-end processors and dedicated graphics cards in the larger bodied MacBook Pros, and even then, the systems would throttle under load. Over the past year, I've been using the M1 MacBook Air, and it's blazing fast. I run a lot of intensive programs, including Photoshop, Lightroom, video editing with Final Cut, and this paper-thin laptop pretty much does it all. And what's even more amazing, it does it without a fan. And when I first started using this Apple Silicon, I was so blown away. I actually went out and purchased a bunch of Apple stock, and as you can guess, I definitely don't regret it. The new 14-inch is going to be substantially faster, so I'm confident whatever you throw at it, it'll just blaze through it. And it's likely the base offering is going to be as powerful as last year's 16-inch with a dedicated graphics card. And this is the first year you can configure a 14-inch with the same specs as a 16-inch. So you're absolutely not compromising power when going with a 14-inch. And what I'm saying is you're free to now have a compact, portable computer, a 14-inch, and not compromise the power. For myself, portability is everything. And let me explain how I use my laptop. My computer is always with me around the house or in my bag when I'm out. I use it for everyday business, emails, video calls, and just general work. Most of these tasks don't need a large screen, but when I want to do serious work like video editing, I always dock my computer to a larger display. So this is why a 14-inch is definitely more exciting to me and the one that I'm buying. Let's talk about specs and why I feel this is a dream laptop. First, I'd like to say I've gained a lot of respect for Apple lately when it comes to their product offerings. They usually release a makeover product and hold back some key features so they can do incremental upgrades later on. I get it from a company perspective, but as a consumer, sometimes it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. I feel Apple this time around wanted to absolutely blow the competition out of the water and build the best laptop possible. So every feature that could be added into a system with today's tech is here. And if there's anything, but this is completely digging, they could have added Face ID. But other than that, I'd say these are going to just be absolutely incredible machines. Getting into the specs, first off, let's talk about the screen. If you're going to upgrade simply for the screen, it might actually be worth it. You're getting a larger 4.2-inch screen and in a similar body to last year's 13-inch. And it also has a slightly taller aspect ratio, which is better for productivity work. These new M1 MacBooks are also getting ProMotion, which allows you to automatically adjust your screen refresh rate up to 120 Hertz. So if you're reading something like a static page, your refresh rate is likely going to be like 24 Hertz. And if you're scrolling and moving around windows, playing games, or watching fast content, your refresh rate will probably be like the maximum 120 for a smooth experience. And a self-adjusting refresh rate is also good for power management and saving battery. But the real screen upgrade is the Liquid Retina XDR tech. This is mini LEDs similar to the Pro XDR display that Apple puts out and the new iPad Pro screens. Quality of these displays is similar to OLED, featuring a lot of the same benefits, but cheaper to produce actually. Plus, you don't have the burn-in issues and you get higher resolution, more colors, 1,000 nits of brightness, and 16 nits of peak brightness, and a 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio, which allows you to watch true HDR content. These screens will be vibrant, very detailed, colors will pop, Blacks will be super black, and the dynamic range will be absolutely the best. These screens are going to be amazing. The performance is the second thing I wanted to talk about, which is a true upgrade. There are two new chips, the M1 Pro and the M1 Max, and I'm not going to go into all the details, but these are seriously professional chips. The first version of M1 was already a computing beast and was rocking the PC world. And these new chips have higher bandwidth, more like graphics and CPU cores, more unified RAM. On the Pro version, you have up to 32 gigabytes of unified memory. And the M1 Pro processor will be about 3 times as fast as the previous M1 version. And the graphics performance will be about 2 times as fast. Then there's the M1 Max, which is even more powerful than the M1 Pro with more bandwidth, more unified RAM, up to 64 gigabytes, and even more graphics cores. The M1 Max will be about twice as fast as the M1 Pro, the first chip being released, and this is incredible performance, similar to what you'd find in a spec'd out desktop with a top-of-the-line Ryzen chip and a 3080 graphics card, but in a small 14-inch laptop. What's even more spectacular is the power efficiency. These computers use a fraction of the wattage compared to similar PC laptops. That's the most groundbreaking thing about these computers is they run cool, quiet, and they sip battery. And this allows Apple to build thin, compact computers with killer battery life. And the third thing of importance is the complete redesign. It's not just a refresh, but a complete redesign around the new M1 chips, offering a more functional system with a contemporary look. And you get other features like quick on display, better speakers, a new thermal cooling design, and a better keyboard with Touch ID and functional keys. And they did away with the touch bar, which I think is a good idea. We're also getting more ports. On the one side, you'll have an HDMI port, a single Thunderbolt 4 port, a full-size SD card reader, and on the other side, there's a 3.5 headphone jack, which can now power high impedance headphones. 2 more Thunderbolt 4 ports, and a fast charging MagSafe port, although you'll still be able to charge your device through the Thunderbolt ports. There are so many features to talk about which will make these new M1 MacBooks the ultimate laptops, especially for professionals. I feel going forward, unless your number one concern is playing AAA games, there's no compelling reason to purchase any type of PC laptop. Apple is completely redefining mobile computing with their really efficient RISC chips, built-in encoders, unified RAM, blazing fast SSDs, and next level screen technology. And they're packaging this all into a beautiful system. I'm so excited about these. I've ordered one for myself, and I can't wait to get it and share my thoughts with you. So lastly, I wanted to go over some of the specs and provide some personal opinions about the best configurations. And something to keep in mind, these are seriously powerful computers that just released. And my MacBook Air and of course the Pro, like the first versions, they could pretty much do everything in terms of computing. And for sure, there were times I wish for a bit more power when I've been doing video editing and intensive work. But all in all, the first version of M1 is just super fast. And I feel that for 80 or 90% of the people out there, this is still the ideal computer. And for that reason, I still feel that this is the best configuration, especially when you consider the lower price tag and better battery life that you're going to get over the new M1 Pro. If you do need a little bit more power and want all these Pro features, then I'd say the base model 14-inch is going to be a good choice, the one with the 8-core CPU and 14-core GPU. And maybe just bump up the SSD storage from the 512 to 1 terabyte just to make sure that you have enough space for all your files. And when you look at this base configuration, I think it's a good choice because just the base configuration is going to be about twice as fast as the current version of the M1. And just like I mentioned before, I think the first version of M1 is already really fast. So getting a computer that's twice as fast is definitely going to fit the bill for most people. And if you are a serious power user and do intensive creative work such as video editing 4K or 6K footage, or a professional photographer who works with a ton of large files, bumping up to the 10-core CPU and the 16-core GPU might be a good idea. And if you don't mind spending a little bit more money, the 24-core GPU might be a good configuration as well, because this takes you from the Pro chip to the Max chip, and by doing so, you also get more overall bandwidth and better encoders. And if you're going for this configuration, I definitely bump up the RAM from the 16 gigabytes to the 32 gigabytes. And, for myself, I would definitely want to increase the storage. So maybe bumping up the storage options to 1 terabyte for sure, or the 2 terabytes, just to make sure that you have enough room if you're working on multiple large projects at once. There's no doubt these are expensive computers, and when you start speccing them out, the price ramps up quickly. For myself, I did spec it out a bit because I usually keep my computers for a number of years, and I just wanted to future-proof myself, and the added cost of doing so just made sense. And anyway, I hope that my recommendations did help. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you're planning on buying one of these new M1 computers, and let me know what your configurations are. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.